The day it changed, everything began like most days do, quietly, without warning, without promise. The kind of day that slips past unnoticed, blending into yesterday and tomorrow, carrying nothing that looks important at first glance. No one woke up believing history would bend because of something small, least of all him. He stood at the bus stop with his collar pulled up against the cold, watching his breath fog the air. The city moved around him without seeing him. Cars rushing, people staring into phones, shoulders hunched, minds elsewhere. He was tired in a way sleep never fixed. Life had become a long list of disappointments he carried silently. A job he'd lost, calls he no longer made, apologies he never heard back. He had learned how to shrink himself so the world wouldn't notice how close he was to breaking. That's when he saw her. She was sitting on the bench at the edge of the stop, an old woman wrapped in a thin coat that looked like it had once belonged to someone else. Her hands trembled as she tried to button it, fingers stiff with cold. A small paper bag rested at her feet, folded neatly as if order might keep the chaos away. She didn't ask for help. She didn't look at anyone. She just sat there, staring at the ground, as if she had learned that asking was more painful than enduring. People passed her like water around a stone. He noticed her, then looked away. He told himself the things people always tell themselves. Someone else will help. I'm late. I don't have much either. It's not my responsibility. Kindness, he had learned, often feels expensive when you believe you're already poor inside. The bus was late. Minutes stretched. The cold deepened. And something inside him, something quiet and stubborn, refused to let him stand there pretending he hadn't seen her. He reached into his pocket and felt the crumpled bills he'd saved for lunch. It wasn't much, not enough to fix anything, not enough to matter, he thought. His hand stayed there longer than necessary, wrestling with fear disguised as logic. Then he stepped closer. "Ma'am," he said softly, unsure if his voice would hold. "Are you okay?" She looked up, startled, as if kindness itself had surprised her. Her eyes were pale and tired, but sharp with pride. "I'm fine," she said quickly, too quickly. "Just resting." He nodded, not pushing. He held out the money anyway, his hand shaking more than hers. "Please, it's cold. Maybe get something warm." For a moment, the world seemed to pause. The traffic noise faded. The bus stop became very small. She stared at his hand like it might disappear. "I can't," she whispered. "I don't want to take from you." "It's okay," he said. "Really, I want to." Something broke then, not loudly, not dramatically, but in the quiet way ice cracks under gentle pressure. Tears filled her eyes, spilling over despite her effort to stop them. She took the money with both hands, as if it were fragile. "You have no idea," she said, voice trembling, "how long it's been since someone saw me." The bus arrived. Doors hissed open. People pushed past him, annoyed, impatient. He helped her stand, steadying her as she climbed aboard. She smiled at him once before finding a seat, a smile so full of gratitude it hurt to receive. He sat down farther back, heart pounding, unsure why his chest felt so heavy and so light at the same time. He told himself it was nothing. Just a few words, a few bills, a moment. But moments are seeds. The old woman got off 3 stops later. Before she left, she turned and caught his eye. She placed a hand over her heart and nodded, as if sealing a promise neither of them had spoken. That afternoon, he went to a cafe instead of heading straight home. With no lunch money left, he ordered only tea. The woman behind the counter smiled and said, "It's on the house. You look like you could use a break." He almost laughed. Days passed, then weeks. He thought of the woman sometimes, wondering if she was warm, if she was safe. He never expected to see her again. But kindness has a strange way of echoing. One evening, his phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. It was a former colleague who had heard he was looking for work. A position had opened up. Nothing guaranteed, but it was a chance. "Someone spoke highly of you," the voice said. "Said you were the kind of person worth giving an opportunity to." He didn't know who that someone was. He never found out. With the job came small stability. With stability came breathing room. And with breathing room came a change he couldn't fully explain. He started noticing people more, holding doors, listening longer, saying thank you like it mattered. Months later, on another cold morning, he saw a young man at the same bus stop, pacing nervously, checking his phone again and again. The fear in the man's eyes was familiar. Without thinking too much, he asked, "You all right?" The man shook his head. "Interview today. First one in a year. I'm scared I'll mess it up." He smiled and said the words he hadn't known he was carrying. "You won't, but even if you do, it won't be the end." They talked until the bus arrived. When they parted, the young man looked steadier, lighter. That night, walking home, it finally struck him. The world hadn't changed because he gave money to an old woman. It changed because he chose to see her, because he stepped out of his own fear for a moment and reached toward another human being. Kindness didn't fix everything. It didn't erase pain or guarantee happy endings, but it did something quieter and more powerful. It reminded people they mattered. And sometimes that reminder is enough to keep someone going. Sometimes it's enough to start a chain you'll never fully witness. Years later, when his hair had begun to gray and his life felt fuller than he once believed possible, he still thought about that morning, about how close he had come to doing nothing, about how easy it would have been to stay silent. He understood then what he hadn't before. The smallest acts often carry the greatest weight, not because they are grand, but because they are rare, because they say without words, "I see you. You are not alone." And somewhere, in ways he would never measure, that one small act kept moving, hand to hand, heart to heart, changing everything.